Hello everybody, and welcome back to Zak Makes a Fool of Himself in the FGC. This time it's EVO edition. That's right, Sparkle On sisters, it is time for the annual event where we all wait very patiently for everybody to show all of their new fighting game stuff while everybody else fights to the death in top 8 matches. For those not acquainted with EVO, EVO is quite literally the biggest esports event in the world right now. It is completely fighting game centric, and thousands of people every year go to see it, watch it, etc. And every year, all the fighting game people and developers all get together to show all of their new fancy things off to everyone who plays fighting games. Because of this, it leads to mass speculation every single EVO in order to figure out what are we going to see from all of these developers. So today, I felt that I could give out a reasonable amount of EVO 2024 predictions 3 weeks before EVO happens. Now, fair warning, this is not an exhaustive list. While it is somewhat exhaustive, it doesn't have absolutely everything. I tried to pull everything from top 8 that I could, and as many from the community showcase that I could. Also, all of this is alleged. Nothing I say is going to come true likely, and for some, there's a good chance it's not going to see the light of day for years, but again, it is me, Gaslight Geeky girlbossing myself. So with that, let's get started. Before we start, hello there, I'm Zak Not Kyle, Zak for short. If you're new here, I'm a fighting game player, VTuber, and content creator who talks about video games, creative writing, popular culture, and how all of those things interact with one another. I also occasionally talk about the content creators of this community as well. If you like what I do, subscribe down below and stick around for my silly shenanigans. I stream a few times a week on my channel, post videos at least monthly, and run tournaments for different fighting games from time to time as well. I also have merch available down in the description. So with all that info out of the way, let's get into this mess. Okay, so the way I've organized this is I will start by talking about who is not showing things at EVO, then the minor announcements like one character, patches, updates, etc., then the major announcements, and then what I think the big game announcement of this year is going to be. Last year, I think we kind of all agree that the biggest was probably Fatal Fury that got revealed, so I'm personally assuming that it could be one of two games, and I'll talk about who I think it is later on. But first, who is not showing things at EVO 2024? Starting with our top 8, I think there are two. The first is SF3 Third Strike, because obviously that game is very old, no way it's getting updates. And the other one, another Street Fighter title, is Street Fighter 6. I don't think they're going to show anything for Street Fighter 6 because of the fact that it's going to be late July by the time they do, and they showed pretty much everything for year 2 at the Summer Games Fest in June. Also considering that Bison will have not even been out for a month by the time that they get onto that stage at EVO, there's a good chance we're getting nothing out of them. If they somehow bust out a Terry Bogard showcase, I would be floored. I don't think they're going to do it, but god, that would be funny. Now for the non-top 8 games, I think the first one, and probably one of the more obvious ones, is BlazBlue. I don't think they're going to do anything, mainly because Arxis is really keen on not having anything compete with Guilty Gear Strive, so maybe next year, and we'll talk about Strive later on. I just don't think it's BlazBlue's time just yet. They did have an RPG game, I believe, that came out very recently that's doing well, so I think they're just gonna keep BlazBlue there. And then Skullgirls actually has evidence that they're doing nothing. Skullgirls' developers actually posted a blog about their plans for 2024, and they said they aren't really gonna be doing any characters, they're really just working on tweaking and updating the game until 2025. So yeah, likely nothing out of Skullgirls for this one. Another pretty obvious one would be Dragon Ball FighterZ, because of Sparking Zero already existing. I don't think they're gonna go for a Fighters 2 just yet. Give them a few years, and maybe they'll do it. I just don't see it in the cards for Fighters right now. I don't think DNF Duel is going to give us anything. Capcom vs SNK is just Street Fighter 6's year 2. What are you talking about? Marvel vs Capcom has been long dead, but the only thing I could really think of them pushing would be the fighting collection a bit. I could reasonably see that happening, but we've already kind of seen most of what we need to see out of that, so it's kind of just gonna be there. As far as Melty Blood Type Lumina, Len was the last character, and we might get some updates on the manga that's supposedly in the works, so yeah, that's really all we got there. And Samurai Showdown's probably also going to give us nothing. So now we have the minor announcements. These are things like we get one new character, maybe patch notes, updates, significant things like that. Most of these that I'm talking about are going to be minor announcements, are just character updates. So there are 3 in the top 8 that are going to do this, and one of them I can say exactly who it is. So for Tekken 8, they're going to show the 3rd DLC character. I personally think it's going to be Josie, Fakunram, or Marduk based off of what the leaks have been saying, so we will see what happens. They may show some of the story content that's planned as well surrounding Eddie. I don't know if they'll actually go there, but I think we could reasonably expect the 3rd DLC character in EVO. So for Grand Blue Fantasy vs Rising, character 5 is 100% being shown. I don't really know who it would be. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus had all of their characters transferred over, so it's really just going to be someone else from the Grand Blue canon. I personally have no idea who it is. I don't keep up with Grand Blue that much. Maybe once we start playing it on stream, I might. But yeah, I can say with near 100% confidence that the 5th of the 6 DLC characters are are going to be shown. And then the one I can say for 100% certainty is Under Night In-Birth 2. I think they're going to show Uzuki 100%. Again, I don't keep up with Under Night like that, but it makes the most amount of sense that they show Uzuki at EVO. Other than that, I can't really see them doing much else. We already know who's in the cards for Under Night 2, so I think they're just gonna show Uzuki and leave it at that. And in the others category, I actually only had one here, and that's Idol Showdown, mainly because of the fact that we 100% know that Idol Showdown is going to be showing stuff at EVO. They have said as much. I personally think it's going to be a Character 12 announcement, and they've already shown a lot of their stages and such, so I think that is what they're saving for EVO, and they're supposedly discussing more things. Personally, as to who I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be either Gura, Kobo, Zeta, Okayu, or Laplas. Personally, my bet is Okayu or Kobo, based off of the regions and the fact that we just got Ninamai Inanis last time, so that is just my thoughts on that. But again, I'm excited for what Idol Showdown has to offer. I really like that game. Now, moving on to the major announcements. These are like season reveals type deal. So for top 8, I think there are 3. Mortal Kombat 1 has so many options. They could choose multiple, they could choose one, they could choose neither. This is WB. I have no expectations. MK is on fire. So there are 3 different options for things that they could show at EVO. The first is the story mode expansion that has been confirmed to be in the works. And considering the characters that have been recently been getting leaked, I'm starting to believe that that is more and more likely the case. Is that going to happen? I'm not entirely sure. The reason I'm not entirely sure is because of the fact that Takeda and Farah drop 3 days after EVO, I believe. I could be wrong on this, but it's very, very soon after. So they could just go the safe route and show Takeda and Farah, but I don't know if they would do that considering their proximity to the next season. Like, they may drop it on us now. The second possibility is Combat Pack 2. Again, Takeda and Farah are right there in terms of proximity, but they're already teasing stuff for Takeda, and it's June still, so I think this could be it, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, with the character list that's currently being teased and the things that have been getting data mined, I'm inclined to believe it's the story mode expansion over KP2. Again, that could just be me though. They could also show none of the above. Again, all of these things are entirely possible. MK does tend to skip EVO, it's just they have an opportunity, they should probably run with it. So, second of the 3 is King of Fighters 15. I think they're gonna drop the Season 3 first character. I'm not entirely sure who it's going to be, it's a little hard to guess, but I do think they're going to show Season 3's first character, probably give a time frame and how many characters are going to be in it, or they could do nothing. I'm not entirely sure on how much longer KOF is going to be running, which is kind of the case with the next game we're going to get into, but yeah, this could be their Season 3. I'm kind of hoping it's their Season 3. A lot of people think it's their Season 3, so maybe it is, who knows. And the last game of the top 8, and the last of the major announcements, is Guilty Gear Strive. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Season 4. Considering how keen ArcSys is on not having anything compete with Guilty Gear, I'm pretty sure they're gunning for a Season 4 here. I personally want Izuna as the first character. Not entirely sure on who's going to be in it. I don't know if there's been any leaks or anything. I would have to dig into that on my own because Strive is one of the games I don't keep up with as much. However, I'm so happy for the Strive fans. Y'all have been getting fed very well. Now, in terms of the others, I have 2. The first one is 2XKO. This game has not come out yet, but oh man, if they're shooting for an early 2025 release, they need to be ramping up how many characters they're showing. Fun fact, since last year's EVO, I'm about 90% sure we've only seen one other character being a Lowy. So I personally think that 2 other characters are going to be shown at the very least. They release in 2025, no way they don't ramp it, so we will see what happens. I personally think they're going to show Katarina and Jinx because we've seen them as a possibility for a very long time. I could also see them going for a Warwick or Vi as well with the Arcane hype, but again, this is Riot, we never know what to expect from them, so we will see how they do, but I think 2X is going to show at least 2 characters. They kind of have to at this point. And then in terms of Fatal Fury, I think they're going to show another 2 to 4 characters. They showed some bangers so far, and personally, I think we're going to see Geese, Mai, or both. Again, not entirely sure on this because there's a lot of characters that you could pull from for a Fatal Fury game, but I do know that they tend to average around 16 to 20 characters for every release, but that, again, is going off of benchmarks from like 20 years ago. So we will see what happens with Fatal Fury on this. I think they're going to show at least 2 characters though, because if they're also going for early 2025, they gotta get that roster out soon. Currently, they're only sitting at 8 characters, and if they do go for a 20 character roster, we're not even 50% of the way there, and this game got announced last year. But yeah, hoping to see a lot out of Fatal Fury. I'm very excited for that game. So I have 2 possible game announcements that could occur. I don't know if either of them will happen. There is one that I think is probably less likely to happen that I want to happen a little bit more. So we'll talk about that one first, and that is Killer Instinct. I don't know what it is, but I have been seeing a lot more KI recently, and I think that's because last year was when Microsoft was attempting to test if Killer Instinct could reasonably come back. Your only developer options are Iron Galaxy. Iron Galaxy clearly shows interest. Developer struggles have been a very real thing for Microsoft with this franchise for around 4 years now. I think as far back as possibly 2018 or 2019 was when they were having issues trying to find a developer for a sequel. Everyone is on board at Microsoft to make another KI happen, but we've heard nothing. Until you remember the possible Bandai Namco unsubstantiated rumors from back in 2022. For anyone who is unaware, there were unsubstantiated rumors back in 2022 that Bandai Namco was helping with the next Killer Instinct. These didn't take off too hard because not a lot was actually said, other than the fact that Bandai was assisting with KI in the way that they assisted with other fighting games in the past, where they don't have direct involvement, but more so just send in people from their teams to assist. No one knows if this is actually true or not. I hope it is. And considering the fact that the anniversary edition of KI happened and a lot of money and time went into revamping that game, I think Microsoft was testing whether or not a sequel could happen with reasonable input. Personally, I think it's likely that this would happen next year or the year after. If they only have seen results from the anniversary edition, there's no way they have that fast of a turnaround time. But with the developer struggles that this game has, either Bandai did secretly help with it and everyone's magically kept everything under wraps and KI is actually going to get shown at EVO, or it's gonna happen in a couple of years. I'm not entirely sure. I really hope it's the first option. I think it's the second, but man, if it's the first one, catch me going live on vacation immediately. Now, the one that I actually think is going to happen, because as much as I want KI to happen, I think it's a pretty slim chance. I think it's going to be Soul Calibur 7. The reason that I say this is that the last Soul Calibur was in the late 2010s. It has definitely been a second since we've seen Soul Calibur. The interest in the game certainly isn't dead, it's just Bandai had back-to-back projects, because in tandem with Soul Calibur, they also had Dragon Ball FighterZ, and then they had Tekken 8 recently. Considering the fact that Tekken 8 has already gotten out and is currently in its first season and is doing extremely well, and considering the fact that Bandai is currently reporting losses and Tekken 8 is carrying, I would be more inclined to think that they would want to capitalize off of Soul Calibur's fighting game franchise. Considering Soul Calibur certainly has its fans still, it's definitely not off the table, and it's certainly been long enough to where I am turning my head at Bandai and seeing what they're gonna do. I think if we do get a big game reveal, it's going to likely be Soul Calibur and less likely to be Killer Instinct, but god, I want it to be Killer Instinct so bad. Also, I am making a video about the feasibility of a Killer Instinct return. That will be coming sometime next week. So, those are all of my predictions that I have for EVO 2024 this year in terms of big reveals and things coming out of all of the different fighting game franchises. Let me know what you guys think below. Do you agree with any of these? Do you think my takes are out there? Even I've said some of my takes are out there, so we are not sure on that one. Is there anything you want to see at EVO? Is there maybe a game that I forgot that you know is going to show something at EVO? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, I'm gonna go back to finishing my Multiverses video because that video is very long and I do not like that game. Oh my god. Bye, sis.